Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we're talking about the 2025 New York City mayoral election and an interesting trend that I've been noticing in this race. So for starters, an article came out that showed a pro-Eric Adams commission poll shows that the mayor trailing Andrew Cuomo by double digits, but Mamdani is still beating them both in this poll. A stunning poll aimed at drumming up support for Mayor Eric Adams' re-election bid has still the incumbent trailing ex-governor Andrew Cuomo by double digits as the pair jockey to take on socialist Zohran Mamdani. The 33-year-old Queens State Assemblyman, who shockingly trounced Cuomo in the Democratic primary last month, leads the ex-governor and Adams by double digits, himself with 41% of the vote in a theoretical general election, while Cuomo garners 26% and his owner takes home 16%, their survey said. Both Cuomo and Adams are still listed as running as independents in November. If both Cuomo and Adams are in the race anywhere near the election, Mamdani can go pick out drapes for a Gracie mansion, said Stephen Grace of Gotham Polling and Analytics. It's surprising. The poll surveyed a little more than 1,000 voters between June 30th and July 2nd, just days after Adams formally kicked off his re-election bid on an independent line and the stunning Democratic primary win for Mamdani. The primary upset is left moderate Dems and those in the business community scrambling to figure out which of the remaining moderate candidates they can line up behind to challenge the upstart socialist. Adams and Cuomo have both been making their cases to prominent New Yorkers that they are the only one who can take down Mamdani. On Thursday morning, Adams nabbed the support of billionaire Bill Ackman, who urged Cuomo to drop out. A day earlier, Reverend Al Sharpton made a similar call, telling Cuomo to throw in the towel. But even with the new poll being heavily skewed when surveying voters to try to help boost Adams' numbers and tarnish others, the mayor failed to garner much support, much to the chagrin of his campaign. One of the questions read, "Some people believe Andrew Cuomo's re-entry into politics shows strength and experience, while others believe it reflects old political habits and unresolved controversies. Which comes closest to your view?" Another asked the potential voter if they were concerned about Mamdani for various reasons, such as his too extreme policies, support for defunding the police, lack of experience, or focus on symbolic or foreign issues, not local problems. Graves pointed out that Mamdani largely benefits from the fractured moderate vote being split among Adams and Cuomo, as well as GOP nominee Curtis Sliwa, who came in with just under 10% of support. If Adams or Cuomo drops out, the other has a chance, but based on this, Cuomo is the better chance, said Graves, highlighting Adams' high level of hard-no voters. According to the poll, 51% of voters said they would never vote for Eric Adams, while Cuomo came in at 12%, lower at 39%. Around 46% of voters, or 12% less, 39. Around 46% of voters fell into the never Mamdani category. Adams and Cuomo head into the general election with years of political baggage, with the mayor's first term being dominated by federal raids and of his top officials and historical indictment. And then Andrew Cuomo, we don't have to get into all that. We've covered that in depth, how much Cuomo has faced. This is very interesting because in the early polling that shows so far, there's been a very strong united effort among many New York Democrats and independents trying to stop Zohran Mamdani from winning the general election in November. Because when you look at past elections, I have 2017 or 2021 and 2017 pulled up. When it was Eric Adams versus Curtis Sliwa, Adams won in a blowout, 67.4%. Sliwa got 27.9%. The only county that went Republican was Richmond County. This is where Staten Island is. Sliwa won here. But every other borough of New York City, or I should say borough of New York City and counties, all went heavily Democratic as expected. 2017 was not really any difference. This was Bill de Blasio versus Malotakis, the Republican. Same thing. Staten Island went red. Everything else went blue without too much of a surprise. However, this time around is an interesting situation because Zohran Mamdani shocked many in the political establishment and political predictors, including myself, who, in my final prediction, I had Cuomo defeating Mamdani by roughly about 6 or 7 points, I think it was. And even then, at the time, I thought I was more on the side of giving Mamdani too much credit than many other political predictors who had Cuomo winning by double digits and some by even more than 15 points. But Mamdani shocked all of us and won a very impressive Democratic primary. But now, the question is for the general election, a lot of Democrats and independents that don't support Zohran Mamdani are trying to coalesce around one candidate to take him on. And right now, both current Mayor Eric Adams, who is running as an independent, and Andrew Cuomo, who's also on the ballot as an independent. I want to get the proper party here. The Working Families Party currently has, I believe, Andrew Cuomo under it right now. This could get very interesting here because whoever has the Democratic initial, the Democratic D next to their name, is a very big advantage in New York City. New York City is one of the most Democratic areas in the United States. So Zohran Mamdani has a very big advantage on that regard. However, Andrew Cuomo, being on a third party in these early polls, have started out with a very high floor of support. The most recent Slingshot Strategies poll, which does not include partisan affiliation or candidates, showed Mamdani with a 10-point lead over Andrew Cuomo, 35% to 25%. Eric Adams trails behind both of them at 11%, while Republican Curtis Sliwa has 14%. And I'll be getting more into Sliwa's role in this in just one second as well. In the Gotham Polling Analytics poll, which I was just going over on that article, Zohran Mamdani has 41%, Cuomo has 26%, Adams has 16%. And then Sliwa has about 10% or less in that poll. An American Pulse research poll from back towards the end of June and beginning of July showed Mamdani at 35%, Cuomo at 29%, Adams at 14%, Sliwa at 16%. And then a Hoden strategy group from June 25th showed that in a matchup of Mamdani versus Sliwa versus Adams versus Cuomo, the race starts out tied 39-39 between Mamdani and Cuomo, while Adams is at 13, Sliwa is at 7. In a poll a head-to-head of just Mamdani versus Adams, Mamdani wins by 15 points, 46-31. In a matchup of Mamdani versus Sliwa versus Cuomo, in this one, Cuomo wins 44-40. And I can go over Manhattan and Emerson's poll as well in just one moment, but again, the trend here has been very consistent. When it's Mamdani at first place, which he has been in every single poll without no mistake, if the election were held today, I do expect Mamdani is more likely to win than not. Andrew Cuomo in every single poll has been the top second choice among many in New York City, among Democrats, independents, and maybe even some Republicans who feel he gives them the best chance at stopping Zohran Mamdani for winning. When you look at these polls so far, it's very clear independent Mayor Eric Adams has no chance at winning this general election. He's polling in the third and even fourth place at times, even though now the best chance at stopping Zohran Mamdani is having a third party, technically independent or third party candidate win. It's not Eric Adams. All Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo are doing at this point is splitting their respective vote and stopping any chance at beating Zohran Mamdani. Right now, in the early polls, Cuomo's trailing Mamdani by about 5 to 10 points. He's getting close on his own, and there's still a decent amount of undecided vote left. But Adams, if he were not in this race, almost for sure gives Cuomo a strong chance at winning this race. But like the article mentioned, and this Honen Strategy Group poll also shows, is there is a lot more voters that will not consider voting for Eric Adams after 4 years of having him as mayor of New York City, who are very disgruntled and disgusted with how Adams has run the city. They will not vote for him even to stop Zohran Mamdani. Whereas Andrew Cuomo, despite all of his scandals as governor, which in all likelihood, in addition to Mamdani being a very strong candidate, I'm sure Cuomo's past scandals played a very large role in that primary, stopped him from becoming the Democratic nominee. Cuomo still has a much better chance at defeating Mamdani than Eric Adams does. So there's a lot more Never Adams voters than Never Mamdani and Never Cuomo voters. Which means the obvious solution here is, at least to me according to the early polls, if Democrats want to unite around one candidate to stop Zohran Mamdani, or independents want to unite around one candidate to stop Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo is leading in all these polls and presents them the best opportunity at doing so. But Eric Adams and Curtis Sliwa remaining in this race are taking away any potential of stopping Zohran Mamdani, because right now every single poll has made it very clear only Andrew Cuomo is the only independent candidate that has an actual chance at stopping Zohran Mamdani. But as long as Adams and Sliwa remain on the ballot, it's very unlikely Cuomo is going to be able to defeat Mamdani because the vote is going to be split up. Sliwa, Adams, and Cuomo will all represent the split Mamdani vote. And unlike New York City, which the Democratic primary was ranked choice voting, I don't believe the general election is going to be ranked choice voting in New York City in the general election. So this could go, whoever gets the most votes wins. And in this case, Zohran Mamdani, and again, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments below on that. But if this just goes, whoever gets the most votes wins, in this matchup of this Mamdani, Sliwa, Adams, Cuomo election, Mamdani is going to win because the anti-Mamdani vote is too split among the three candidates. So when you read reports about Adams and Cuomo fighting over who should stay in the race and who should drop out, and neither one wanting to drop out, the reality is Cuomo has the better chance at defeating Mamdani, but Adams is being adamant that he believes he's the independent candidate that could best beat Mamdani, even though the early polling data shows he has absolutely zero chance in doing so. And Adams is just as unpopular, if not more unpopular, among anti-Mamdani voters as Mamdani is himself. So Adams does not really have a chance here. And as crazy as it sounds, after seeing Cuomo just a few weeks ago get blown out in that Democratic primary rather shockingly, he presents the best alternative that could win a general election to Zohran Mamdani in New York City, which is really fascinating. As for Curtis Sliwa's part, the Republican, I mean, look, it's New York City. No Republican in modern times has a real possibility of becoming mayor of New York City. And at this point, Sliwa is just really doing the same thing as Adams, which is splitting the anti-Zohran Mamdani vote. I think we're going to see this election develop over recent months. This is not going to be a conventional election in New York City of Republican, Democrat. This is going to be a Zohran Mamdani Democrat and anti-Zohran Mamdani Republican, Independent, Democrat electorate. Whether people in New York want to have Mamdani as the mayor with all of his policies he's proposed, a lot of them being coined as socialist and such policies, do New York City voters want to see that be the case? And the early polling shows right now, if all the voters for Sliwa and Adams coalesce around Cuomo, there is more than enough support for Cuomo to defeat Mamdani. But the same cannot be said if all the vote coalesced around Eric Adams. It just doesn't add up. There's enough voters that are so disgruntled with Eric Adams that even if they don't like Mamdani, they would rather vote for him than vote for Eric Adams. Again, in this matchup, 46% for Mamdani, 39% when Cuomo and Sliwa and Adams are in this race. For Cuomo versus Mamdani, it's 44-40. Mamdani goes up to 46% when it's Mamdani versus Adams. That just really underscores how unpopular Eric Adams is with a lot of New Yorkers. So the simple reality here is, looking at the numbers, if the Democrats, Independents, and Republicans of New York City want to have a mayor not named Zohran Mamdani come Election Day in November, their best bet electorally is Andrew Cuomo. But whether Curtis Sliwa and Eric Adams decide to get out of this race and throw their support behind Cuomo to stop Mamdani, I, at this point, would probably bet on that not happening, especially from Sliwa. Sliwa's shown no interest in getting out of this race. Neither has Eric Adams. As he is the incumbent mayor, he probably does not want to get out of this race either. But the simple reality is Andrew Cuomo is the only candidate that can currently stop Zohran Mamdani or maybe even get it close. Sliwa and Adams are just going to get blown out in this election. If Cuomo does drop out of this race and throws his support behind Adams, it's possible maybe Adams does a little bit better than this poll, but the only poll that has that scenario right now shows Mamdani gaining more support, and that would likely be a very good thing for Mamdani having to face Adams in the general election instead of Cuomo. So this is very fascinating. This is not something I was really thinking about talking about come the primary night where Mamdani won a shocking victory against Cuomo, but it's possible we may get a Mamdani-Cuomo rematch in November where we'll see if it ends up being the same again, or maybe Andrew Cuomo in a less, I would say, farther left electorate gives Cuomo a better chance of winning. But if Adams and Sliwa drops out, Cuomo has a very strong chance. If it remains the way it is now, then Zohran Mamdani is likely going to become the next mayor of New York City, and that's where things stand on that front. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did. Leave your thoughts down below. Do you think Cuomo in a 1v1 against Mamdani could win? Is Sliwa and Adams hurting Cuomo's chances or any other chances at beating Mamdani? Leave all your thoughts down below. Make sure to like and subscribe as well as I post more videos like this one going forward. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in a future video.